everyone, welcome back to Katarina's Garage. My name is Katarina Lloyd, and well, as you can see, I am beside my 86 Mustang here, and then you can see my 81 Mustang in the background. And, well, that car is having issues right now. Nothing too major, to be honest, but like something that will need to be addressed. I don't need to do it right away, but like before next summer, whatever else, or like spring, basically, I'll need to do that for sure. However, there's also like new seats in the car too, which I'll showcase that, and as well as something I did to this car the other day, which honestly looks freaking fantastic, and I'm a big fan of it. Although I did just realize that that side is not in correctly, so I'll have to adjust that. But other than that, it's all good. But anyways, let me show you what I did to this, and then we will move on to the other car and show you I'll show you what I did to that car and what's wrong with that one too. So you can see around the windshield here that this used to be all gray around this windshield just because it faded. It's just like this mirror, right? This mirror is just all faded and all this trim is faded gray, right? But I had this black trim from the parts car that I picked up, and so I put that on the car yesterday, and it looks just so much better. Although, like I said, I need to adjust that side because you can see it's a little off. But other than that, it's looking just so much better just from that little thing alone. So, now, and I will end up just painting the rest of this more than likely, but you know, to kind of get it to match and stuff. But until then, it's just gonna kind of stay the way it is. That won't be done for a while. But also, you might see in the back seat there is a Civic gas tank back there, so the Civic might be on the road again soon. But let's move on to this car. So, like I mentioned, this car has an issue, and you can see it when you look at this fender gap here, and look at how tight this is, right? I can basically get 2 fingers in there, right? But then I go to the other side, and I can get 3 if I bend it a little, right? Fingers. Or 4 if I bend it a little, fingers, right? So that is the problem here. And now what is causing that? Because this thing has new springs out back, right? And it has new shocks all the way around. Well, I say new, but they're like 2-year-old shocks. So shocks and springs are not the problem here. What is the problem? Well, I'll show you what the issue actually is. Because actually, me and my neighbor were kind of talking about it at the car meet the other day. And yeah, so even this side is a little lower than the other side. So, but I'll show you why. Because it's not the rear, it's actually the front. And this is actually a interesting little tidbit about stuff like this. So this thing still has the original springs up front from 1981, right? And now, when you push on the front end, you can see the entire side of the car move like that, right? So, and basically, your springs are technically parallel to each other like that. And so whatever one does, the other one's going to do as well that is in line with it. So, because of that, like, it's this coil spring basically that is the problem. That one is fine, you know, like in the back, because they're only a year old. And, you know, so this side is still cutting into the tire, the other side's not. And it's also pulling to the right pretty good, actually, because of this issue. And now, I will fix it. And actually, it should be fixed sooner rather than later. And I'm definitely going to do that. I just need to see where my finances are at to order springs and stuff like that. Because right now, I don't have a lot of money at the moment to even afford springs for this car. So that is a problem. And now it does affect a few different things. Like, for one, I'm kind of fighting the wheel a little bit on the highway and stuff like that, and even around town. But you know, other than that, it's not the worst thing in the world. Although, like I said, because I have those tall, fat tires in the rear, they do rub, and actually on this side they cut. And it's only because of, again, how low that is sitting back there because of this coil spring. So yeah, it's disappointing, but you know what? This is trials and tribulations of old cars. What can you do, right? But anyways, I did actually get new seats installed in this car, and now the interior still has a few things in it, but it's still a little dirty. However, it looks so much better now than it did before, and there's still stuff I need to fix a little bit with it, but bear with me here, because if we take a look inside the car here, right, you'll see different seats in here. And now these front seats, they need to be cleaned still more. I was cleaning this one a little bit, and I got it much cleaner than it was. But these are actually GT red tweed seats with the red vinyl on the side. Now, there is a little bit of like fading, or that might even just be dirty. I might be able to just clean it up with some vinyl and leather cleaner. But yeah, and then the back seat, of course, has been swapped out as well. And again, there's a bunch of crap on the bottom of the seat, but just look at how much better that looks than before. Because before, I had these really tore up seats in here, and they were comfortable, but not as fun when it came to the looks department, right? So, you know, it is cleaning up very nicely. However, if I go towards this, because like the GTs actually have really cool seats, and like you can see here actually that this has adjustable bolsters that you can just turn this, and this whole thing is actually moving, right? And then also it's got power lumbar here. Now that's not currently set up, but I will get it set up properly. I just had it jerry-rigged for a bit. However, it's really nice, and I absolutely love that about this car. These seats are just fantastic. They're not quite as comfortable as the old seats that I had in the car, but that's okay. You know what? They look fantastic. They're a much nicer looking seat than I had in there before. And yeah, overall, like I'm really, really digging it. Also, I have these tires up front, which if you take a look, they are much wider than I had on there before. So these are 245 60 15s, right? Yeah, 245 or 225, sorry, 60 15s. So they are a bit wider up front now too. And yeah, a buddy of mine actually, like my friend Keith, he's the one that put those tires on. He just had them around his shop, and they honestly look way better, like especially because now I have, even though the Cooper Cobra's up back, but at least, you know, white lettering, right? And these are dry rotted tires that'll only last for basically this year, and then I'll end up replacing these front tires in the summertime anyways, or next season. So yeah, but really, you know, it's it's one of these things with these cars, right? And the problems they give and whatever else, and like the cost of these in the end. Because bear in mind, so this car here, now if I decided I wasn't gonna do anything else to the car, you know, and if it wasn't like just a true enthusiast that way for the car, and I just was getting it running and driving on the road, well, my total cost of that, I believe, when it was all said and done, including the purchase price, was $2,000, which is not bad. It still needed some things afterwards. Like I still needed, like down the road, for example, the rear springs, they went out on me. The steering rack, I needed to replace, right? So there is costs like that, but it's not too bad. Like that steering rack was only like, I think, $200, and then those rear springs with installation and everything was about $200 as well. So it wasn't too bad at the time, you know. And I had to change the water pump on it because of my mistake. You know, because I'm the one that actually killed the original water pump in this car, but it's probably a good thing I did because it was on its original water pump from 1981. Still had day-coded spark plugs and wires on it. You know, there was a lot of just original about this car when I first got it. And now the thing is, it's interesting about this car with me, and my relationship with this car is, well, this is my first car. I love it to pieces, and honestly, I'm a huge fan of this car. And now that's one of those things where, especially with your first car, like if I had to sell one of my cars, it would be the convertible. Even though I've sold it once, I don't really ever want to sell again. But if I had to, that's the one I could sell. This one I can't. I don't see any way that I would sell this car. Like, to be honest, somebody would have to like give me so much money, and I'd cry when it left. So that's not gonna happen with this thing, for sure. And I definitely don't want to do it to the other car, but you never know what happens, right, in the future. But yeah, like in this car, you know what? Because it looks rough, but actually, if you look at its bones, this is actually one of the cleaner Foxbodies out there. It's kind of funny that way. Yeah, it's got mismatched paint, it's got mismatched interior, you know, it's got some primer on the door here, for example, and it's kind of, you know, it doesn't feel quite good, but, you know, it's fine, like, but this thing for rust isn't that bad. Like, the convertible is far worse when it comes to how much rust it has compared to this. And it's really kind of a nice thing about this car, and that's one of the reasons why I bought it back when I did, back in 2019. So yeah, I believe it was March 19th, 2019 is when I bought this thing, and yeah, it's been my baby ever since. And you know, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and there's so many things that I'm still wanting to do to it, you know, and like, for example, this week potentially, because I do want to head up to Edmonton to my buddy Keith's place, because I have a rear end to put into this car. It was going to go into that car, but, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's kind of funny, because I bought these two rear ends actually this year, like earlier on in the year, like in like May-ish. I think I bought just about both rear ends. So the one is a 7.5 that was supposed to be limited slip, and it came with 373 gears. That was going to go into stick shift. But there's two problems with that rear end. A, it is well, it's out of a 1980 or 81 T-Bird, so it's actually too wide with these tires on that, right? And these wheels and tires would not look good on the convertible. They just wouldn't. I've had them on it. It just doesn't look right. This car, it just has that look that these tires go really well with, even though it slows this thing down so much because it's got a little inline six in it. But yeah, so that 7.5, unfortunately, I can't really use it for anything, and I'm not going to throw it in that because I've already got a 7.5 in this. This only has a 6 3/4 rear end, which is a rear end that you don't really see. They only put them in like early 4 cylinders and apparently inline sixes as well. You know, so it's weird looking at it because you're trying to identify it, going, what the hell is that thing, right? And it uses the same brakes as an 8.8 and a 7.5. You know, so there's no issues there. Like, I can swap these brakes because these brakes were, you know, relatively, they're still in good shape. So I'll swap those over to that rear end. And yeah, but actually, so the 8.8 that I bought for that is actually going into this, which that one is an 8.8 out of, I believe, an 85 or 86 Mustang. And it's got a limited slip in it, which is either 308 or 327 gears. So it'll give this thing a little more pep in its step going. And then also limited slip in the winter time will just be a little nicer to get traction, whatever else. You know, so yeah, this car will soon be winter driven. So that's the thing. But yeah, and like I said, you know, the Civic might be on the road here soon too, with any luck, fingers crossed. But anyways, I don't know, I've just been rambling, whatever else, and I'm starting to not feel too great. So before I actually faint here, I am going to let y'all go. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I need to yeah, I definitely I need to okay, I need to get over to the camera and pause the footage and just end the video here before I fall over. Shit.